As always, get an opportunity to talk to Mark Rolfing here at the PGA Tour, Champions Tour, Mitsubishi Electric Championship at Hualalai, and it's just great to see him in the broadcast booth last week at the Hyundai Tournament of Champions, and now at the Mitsubishi Electric Championship. We're on the second day, so we're not going to talk a lot about this tournament, but certainly get some insight into the state, the wonderful state of the PGA Champions Tour. Mark, thanks for joining me. I know you got a busy day.
Well, thank you, Emily. It's great to be back, and it's interesting. The first couple weeks of the year, I was working PGA Tour golf in Hawaii, and I knew about half the players because, it seems like the majority of them are under the age of 30. And so I had to work pretty hard at the Sony Open, just to get to know what that face is and how it relates to the name on that board. Here, these are all my friends. They're guys I've either played with or broadcasted with, and it's like coming home almost to me. This isn't even like working this week. This is coming back to a big old family that I haven't seen in about 6 months now, so it's been a great week.
Well, we'll just briefly mention it, but you went through 5-6 months of intensive cancer treatment.
Yeah, can you imagine? Take a look at this. They cut me from right here to right here. The doctor was like Rembrandt. I mean, you can hardly tell. Took out a big tumor from here. All my lymph nodes right in here are gone. Which is good because they're the transportation system for cancer going from here to here, so that's not going to happen now. And I go down to Houston on Monday, back to MD Anderson. We do a series of tests, and we're going to hopefully get an all clear on Thursday, which given the way I feel and the energy level that I've got compared to a year ago, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get that all clear. So,
well, certainly a lot of people, have a lot of faith that you're going to have that clear bill of health. And of course, Debbie, your wife, it was a long 6 months.
She was a rock, Emily. I mean, I could not have done it without her. I was with a group of people that went through that 6 months, and I saw people that were good patients. And I saw ones that weren't good patients, and had I not done my exercises and stayed on my diet and did all the things that I had to do to keep my mouth clean so that there wasn't the risk of an infection, was all really, really important. And she was there, every minute of those 6 months, and I wouldn't have been nearly as good a patient without her.
Well, it was wonderful. She was keeping us abreast on Facebook, so that was great to see. And boy, you just have gone full stride. I mean, all you guys, it's a pretty fast pace when you're out here covering the events during the week, and you're talking about feeling right at home. The great thing about listening to Dave Maurer III is he, of course, watched all these players grow up. He was growing up and watched them, and all of you, as you put out the stories and the trivia and everything, it feels like home to a lot of us as spectators because we grew up with these players as well. And that's the beauty of the PGA Champions Tour is we all get to see the ones coming off the PGA Tour, but people we've watched for so many years.
Well, really, I don't want to diss the PGA Tour, but I was watching, Career Builders yesterday from the desert, and then, of course, I broadcast live from Mitsubishi Electric, and I thought a lot during our telecast, if I were a viewer at home, which one would I rather watch? Would I rather watch Career Builders or would I rather watch Mitsubishi Electric? I think, the best case is you could watch them both. But if you had to make a choice, there's no doubt in my mind I would rather watch this. Just look at the scenery, look at the beauty. And one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite weeks of the year is whenever we get a lull in the broadcast, or maybe all the players are walking from a green to a tee, all we have to do is go to the airplane, show a live shot of Hawaii Island, and I can start talking about something that may not have any relevance to a score on a hole on the golf course. So I've got a built-in crutch of being able to go back to my sort of Hawaii knowledge.
Well, longtime resident of Hawaii, had so much to do with the Kaupulehu, the development of the plantation course and things that go on at Kaupulehu and the Hyundai Tournament of Champions, and a lot to do with the Aloha Swing that started over in Maui, January with the Hyundai Tournament of Champions, moved over to the Sony Open, and here, great weather all 3 weeks, showing to millions of viewers on your NBC Golf Channel. What a blessing for Hawaii.
Well, it really is, and I think this has been one of the best Aloha swings in my career. Believe it or not, Emily, that was the 25th anniversary of the plantation course. It just seems impossible that it's been 25 years. But when I take a look at the state of the game, and maybe it's because I was gone for 6 months and have a new perspective, but I just think golf is in such a better condition than it was a couple years ago, and both the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour champions, I think, is in better condition. You've got younger players, whether they're at the age of 50 or at the age of 20 on both tours, that grew up watching the Golf Channel and now embrace kind of what we're doing. We don't have to worry anymore about guys saying, "Oh, I'm not doing an interview," or "Get that camera away from me." They now understand how important television is and how important it is to their brand and getting them exposure. And Colin Montgomery was in our booth for an hour and a half yesterday. I wanted to say to him afterwards, "Hey, where did you get these happy pills? You didn't have them 25 years ago when we played together over in Europe. How all of a sudden, he's the world's happiest guy?" And I think a lot of it is because of the TV.
Well, I said to Colin the other day, he happened to play in the Pro-Am with my friends from Detroit, Paul Forte, Brian Manugi, and all good players, members at Oakland Hills and Detroit Golf, and Billy Perrette. And I told him, I said, I love watching you in the booth. You're so happy. And he said, "I am happy." And it was really great to see him. When I saw him get in the booth yesterday for a couple hours, it's really nice to see. But Mark Rolfing, you've had so much to do with showcasing Hawaii and the sport of golf for so many years. Just a little background, if you would, because you played college golf at DePaul University.
I did.
And roomed with, was it Dan Quayle you roomed with?
I did. So
By the way, the tractors and stuff we're hearing is the handiwork of Earl Saunders and his crew.
What a job he's
What
done.
a wonderful job they do maintaining this golf course to the point where the players have nothing but nice things to say about the...
Well, they don't. I said twice on the telecast yesterday, which is one time too many, but I said twice, if you can't putt out here, you just can't putt. I have never seen greens. And Earl's done an incredible job this year. There's no grain in the grass. Everybody's talking about it. And they've got these 20-footers all day long, 15, 20-footers that they're overreading them. Any putt that's missed is being missed on the high side. These are not breaking a foot to the left or a foot to the right. They're right edge putts or inside right or inside left or straight. And it's just a real credit to Earl and the group here, what they've done. This is the best shape I've ever seen this course.
I remember John Freitas, the manager of the Hualalai Club here at the Four Seasons Resort at Historic Kaupulehu. I was playing with his wife, Catherine, and out here years ago when the first opened, he said, "You guys are reading too much into the greens." And I heard you make that comment yesterday. So talk a little bit about, you're talking about the younger players coming up, but they're coming up through junior golf and then on to college golf, and how different it is from when you played college golf. You're such a big part of the Hawaii State Junior Golf Association here in Hawaii that has done a lot to give players, junior golfers in Hawaii, an opportunity to get to the mainland and be scouted by college scouts, go on to college scholarships, and a lot of good players that come about of Hawaii. Waikoloa Beach Resort is going to be hosting the Ama'ari for the 25th year. Coming up soon, where Tiger Woods has played, Nota Begay, Paul Casey, Jordan Spieth was on the winning team a couple of years ago. Comments about places even like Waikoloa Beach Resort hosting these collegiate events.
Well, Waikoloa has done a great job over the years, and you need to be involved at a grassroots level in order to have sustainability when it comes to golf, and sustainability is going to be determined long term by how much we teach our juniors and how we educate them. Not just in how to hit a golf shot, but in etiquette on the golf course and core values and things like that. It's totally different now. When I played in my first PGA Tour event, Emily, I was scared to death, no matter how good I was in college. I won back-to-back tournaments in college and got pretty good by my junior year, but I was scared to death when I played in my first PGA Tour event. Now these guys, Jordan Spieth, before he ever turned pro, had played in 7 or 8. They're all seasoned veterans. The junior programs are so good. The college programs are so good. The coaching is better. The equipment is better. And as good as Jordan Spieth is, I'm telling you, there are a couple guys that are almost as good. This Justin Thomas, who went to Alabama and played against Spieth his whole career. He's only won one tournament and Jordan's won a bunch, but Justin Thomas, if they played 10 times, Jordan might beat him 6, but Justin would beat Jordan 4. it's just a great crop of young kids, and they are ready to win when they get on the tour now because they're like seasoned veterans.
It's Mark Rolfing we're talking with, the Emily T. Gail Talk Story Show, and we're at the Mitsubishi Electric Championship, the PGA Tour Champions Tour Mitsubishi Electric Championship at Hualalai-Four Seasons Resort at Historic Kaupulehu. It's the morning of the second round, talking a little bit about the importance of the Champions Tour, the Golf Channel, the senior skins, when you played your first senior skins and kind of really got rolling into broadcasting at that time, right? The Golf Channel was a vision in the mind of Arnold Palmer and Joe Gibbs, not the Washington Redskins Joe Gibbs. Wasn't even on basic cable yet. And who would have thought? So talk about that, your evolution with how you got into broadcasting.
I'll tell you a story about that. They came to me, Arnold Palmer had somebody that he was involved with came to me to want to know if I was interested in investing in the Golf Channel before it started. And I said, are you kidding me? That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard of. There's no way, that a 24-hour golf network is going to work. There just won't be that appetite for golf. Well, that was a big mistake, number one, financially, but I was wrong. And it's been a tremendous ride for me. My first senior skins, there were two announcers, me and Vin Scully. And it was Vin in the booth and me on the course at Mount Alani. And I remember the Mount Alani boat out there with a big sign on it that said, Aloha, Vin and Mark. And I just thought, is this unbelievable? I pinched myself and said, they're talking about Vin Scully and Mark Rolfing. Holy mackerel. To a guy who had never won a major championship. Forget that, never won a PGA Tour event or any big event, really. And for me to kind of stumbled into a job and grown and gotten the respect of the viewers because they want to hear what I have to say, not based on my playing record, but on my ability to communicate. It is a dream come true. And then, of course, to have the health issue and be able to come back from it, it's a second miracle, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Well, Mark, you've always been, I remember meeting you and starting to get acquainted and become friends at the Mount Alani Senior Skins. You were playing in the Pro-Am, and I think you told me these people paid a lot of money to play in the Pro-Am, and they're not playing with Arnold, and they're not playing, with Jack. I'm going to make it as much fun as I can for them. And I've got pictures of you, I think, from way back in those days when we were using regular cameras, 35 millimeter and stuff, but people being around you and wanting to be around you, you've always had a knack for making friends and connecting people and mentoring people and also honoring people for what they've accomplished, and you've been able to blend all that into a career that has been wonderful.
Well, thank you. I always feel like what the person I'm talking to has to say is just as important as what I have to say, and the players that I've become the closest to and the most engaged with, and Jordan Spieth is this kind of guy. They're the ones that look you in the eye, that are genuinely concerned with what you're saying and care about what you're up to in your life. And I think that's important for people because you need to treat every person, regardless of whether they're a volunteer out here or a fan or the number one player, the Charles Schwab Cup champion, whoever it is, they're no different than anybody else. You have to treat everybody the same with respect and be interested in what they're up to, not just what you're up to.
And what I love is you're really promoting on the NBC Golf Channel the NCAA, the college championships coming up in May.
Yeah,
and yet Hawaii has the Amari coming up in February, then the John Burns Invitational over in Maui. These teams come to Maui and the Big Island to kind of hone their game as they go into their college play.
The future of golf and making the game sustainable, rests in a couple of areas. It rests in our ability to be able to develop golf courses that don't need so much water and don't need so much maintenance as we run out of those resources. But we also need to develop our youth. And you look at guys like me and Kapu Billy, we're in the fall of our careers, but all these kids, these college kids, these young kids are just at the beginning. And we need to be able to share with them our experiences and what we've learned. And if we develop them the right way and get them to grow up into the game, respecting it and understanding, like Jordan Spieth does, how important Tom Watson has been to the game or how important Ben Crenshaw has been to the game, the game is going to be in good hands. And that's what these kids are doing. That's what the HSJGA does. sustainability lies in our youth, and we can never forget that.
So Waikoloa Beach Resort will be hosting Ari, but the Hawaii State Junior Golf Association, wonderful fundraiser up at Nanea on the Monday every year before the Champions Tour, PGA Champions Tour, Mitsubishi Electric Championship at Hualalai, raising a substantial amount of their annual budget because some of the Champions Tour players go up there and play. Comments about you've been involved from the very beginning with Mary B. Porter King, Scott Head, some of the others with the Hawaii State Junior Golf Association. How proud you must be.
I'm very proud. I'm worried about Mary B. You know, she's been hinting at retirement for about 5 years now, and you know, she keeps talking about the door, you know, and going out the door, and I said that door doesn't open going out, it only opens coming in, Mary B. So you're here for a while. I don't want to hear anything about, you know, finding a replacement or anything like that. She's like a one-man band when it comes to Hawaii State Junior Golf. There are a lot of volunteers and a lot of people that help, but Hawaii State Junior Golf is so much Mary B. that I'm worried about what it'll be like in 10 years. In the meantime, it is the best junior golf organization in the world, period. And I go around to 25 PGA Tour events a year and see a lot of junior golf organizations and see a lot of initiatives and a lot of causes, that there is nothing like the HSJGA. And you think about the challenges that we have here in Hawaii just because of our geography and the fact that you can't even drive from one island to another for tournaments. That's why it costs so much to develop our young junior golfers. But you know, the people that came out to Nanea and supported it, you know, was unbelievable. A tremendous amount of money was raised, and the HSJGA is thriving. It's because of the people of Hawaii.
And I want to give a shout out to a lot of my friends from Detroit who come over for a month. They play in this Mitsubishi Electric Championship Pro-Am, and they support the Nanea event, have for years, and buy the big auction items, and they're supporters of junior golf in Detroit, and they've carried over that belief that you need to support junior golf while they're here in Hawaii. So a shout out to, you know, Paul Forte, Nancy Clavel, Bill Perrette, that whole group, Brian Manugian. It's really neat to see them get so involved here. And have you got a couple more minutes, Billy? Can you jump in here? Will you join us?
Wow,
talk about.
I haven't even given him a hug yet.
Yeah,
so
really. Kahu,
I
Billy
thought this guy
Mitchell.
was running for president of the United States. The interview went so long.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love, both of you are so synonymous with Hawaii. I told Billy the other day, going to the Waimea Ocean Film Festival, I'm a big supporter of that. It's a terrific event.
Yeah.
And with so many of the surf films like the Eddie Akau and all the big surf meets out on the North Shore, there's Billy doing the blessing, and you know, such a big part of that event as you are here at the Four Seasons Resort, Hualalai, the Mitsubishi Electric Championship. Kahu, Billy Mitchell, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Some comments about 20 years out here and your association with surfing and everything.
Well, Hawaiians always start with the land. Yeah, this is such an awesome place, and so many people make this golf course part of the landscape that is still beautiful. You know what I mean? It's not an intrusion on Hawaii. So the golf landscape, all of these workers and this handsome guy, I think they bring a dimension to Hawaii that was always here. And we had the makahiki. Today the makahiki is back in the schools. So this tournament is a makahiki of men competing, people coming, and you know, it's like a good release in life from the multitude of stresses we have and we live under. That you need, especially men of such character, the golfers, and then men of such character like this man who loves Hawaii, we win.
I learned so much from this guy. Let me tell you a story, Emily. So 2 weeks ago at Kaupulehu, my comeback, Peter Jacobson was the analyst, and they were showing a shot up the Hanakahau Valley on Maui, and a stretch of high ground that went all the way from the ocean to the land. And Peter said, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "We are looking at an Ahupua'a." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "An Ahupua'a." And I explained about how the land had been tracted vertically in the ancient days so that people could farm on the higher ground and go down to the sea and gather their fish. And it wasn't all about oceanfront. It wasn't horizontal, it was vertical. I wouldn't have learned that in a million years, except from a guy like Kahu.
You know, think about this, a whole generation of kids are now speaking Hawaiian.
That's right.
You know, when I moved here and the talk of, you know, the Hawaiian immersion schools was just starting, and now, I mean, I've got friends that their children are speaking Hawaiian.
I'm not
what a
quite
beautiful
speaking
thing.
Hawaiian, but I moved to Hawaii, and now I live in Hawaii. I'm getting closer.
And lucky we live Hawaii, huh? You know, you mentioned Peter Jacobson. Peter, of course, represented the Waikoloa Beach Resort for years on the PGA Tour. He's been such a friend to Hawaii as well, and loves Hawaii, and I think he really enjoyed his years representing Waikoloa Beach Resort. And an important thing out there on the tour, because it is a different lifestyle. And
by the way, he tied Bernard Langer yesterday out there. How about that? Round by Jake, 2 under par he shot after.
I saw that, yeah, and it was great to see him in the broadcast booth, but it's even better to see him out here playing.
Awesome.
So, Billy, you know, for so many years, I mean, I met you 20 years ago, and I think Mark shares it well, the amount of grace and warmth that you've shown to visitors and locals, and the blending of, you know, Four Seasons Resort with the local culture and sharing and teaching us all so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, I think the perspective on a lot of things has changed for the better. I think the Hawaiian language now is more prolific due to a lot of schools and a lot of committed young teachers. So there's good hope for the future. And I think instead of hearing more about abuses on the land and things that couldn't be reversed, we're hearing more great stories of how different things are being replenished, revived, instead of forgotten. And golf's part of it. What kind of fertilizers are used by guys like Earl Sanders here, the things that go into the ocean. We're all becoming more aware that we can all affect the ecosystem in a good way or a bad way. And if we do it together, we affect each other with a lot of aloha.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot more about the solutions now than the problems.
Right.
And I think that's a really healthy thing in media as well.
Billy used a good word, aware. It's interesting because he and I both have had some health challenges lately. And, you know, health is all about being aware of your body, and there are a lot of different ways to be aware of what are going on with your body, but a lot of times we're not aware of what we are actually doing to the land. We need to be aware of that too, and the more that we can be, the more he's right. We can reverse what has been, you know, something that might be considered an abuse of the land, to now protecting the resources.
And Mark Rolfing, NBC Golf Channel, longtime friend, mentor. I always tell you that, but it's true. You've been just wonderful to me. Longtime resident over in Maui, has done so much. Fisherman, absolutely, and just such an ambassador for Hawaii. I'm sure you're going to head out fishing yesterday or today if you got time. You took your fishing. You gave me your fishing time today. And Kahu Billy Mitchell out here at the Hualalai Resort at Four Seasons at Historic Kaupulehu. It's the morning of the second round of the PGA Tour Champions Tour Mitsubishi Electric Championship at Hualalai. To both of you, I appreciate so much the warmth and kindness you've shown me for so many years. I'm really, really touched by it all the time.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. And the Emily T. Gail Talk Story Show. We all say aloha.